So after our homestead failed us to do this sit-down video, we have come outside and we're just chilling on our truck tire.
That we found in the middle of the woods.
Yes.
Right, where exactly?
Just drop it where you are. Drop it. Sweet. That's how you make a set. Hopefully the setting is much more pleasant for you to enjoy us blabbing blah 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 and talking about how expensive was Norway for van life during our latest trip. As I was saying, it's better visually, but there's a noises.
Excuse me. So in this video we're going to split down how much van life cost us in different sections whilst we were travelling around Norway. We're going to give how much it cost us and then also how much things cost that we saw that necessarily we didn't buy because it was too expensive.
Yeah, but we're still going to tell you how much it was and why didn't we use it?
So the first thing that we kind of had to buy regardless of where we were was fuel, because we can't run the van off air and we're in a vehicle, so we needed fuel. Now fuel in Norway on the whole was expensive. Regardless of where you were, it was pretty expensive. Petrol we found was more expensive than diesel, and the average price, I don't know, it was anywhere between 14 to 16 kroner per litre, and the cheapest fuel that we actually found was in the north in quite remote rural places.
Yeah, it was actually in Narvik.
Yeah, in Narvik and the surrounding area, because I think that's where the oil fields are off the coast of Norway, so they just ship the fuel straight there and sell it. But on the whole, it was relatively expensive, and in total in our 2 weeks we spent 3,150 Norwegian kroner.
We'll put the euros and the dollars on the screen. Yeah, so that was that's driving from the southern sort of most point of Norway to Tromsø sort of area, so that's more or less the majority of the length of Norway. So that gives you an idea how much it would actually cost you to drive all the way up.
Now the next thing that we also needed to buy, unfortunately, again regardless of where we were, was gas. That's gas for heating, for the fridge,
for the cooking,
everything like that. Yeah, they ran off 11 kilo propane gas bottles. And in Norway, all you have to do is you go to the petrol stations, and in the petrol stations you bring in your old empty gas bottle and they give you a full one, or they're meant to, because one time we got one that was empty.
Yeah, it was bad. It was the worst possible moment.
Yeah.
Because we were going into minus degrees.
Yeah, like minus 10, minus 15 degrees Celsius.
Wasn't a good experience, that one.
These bottles costed around 300 Norwegian kroner to exchange. You just exchange an empty one for a full one, and they lasted us about anywhere from 3 to 5 days depending on how cold it was outside and how much we used it.
So we spent about 1,000 kroner on gas.
It's about 95 pounds or so.
Yeah, which guess it's fine, but thankfully you don't pay for the bottle each time, you just pay for the gas.
If you are planning to drive around Norway, as we did, then you have to be aware that pretty much every single main road going in and out of a city, or that's like got a tunnel, you know, those ones where they go loop, 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 and they got a straight line going, that road will be tolled. Yeah,
most bridges as well are tolled. Thankfully the bridges in Tromsø are not, but on the outskirts of Tromsø they are.
Oh yeah, there was one that was like 100 kroner, 10 pounds just to get across a 1 kilometer bridge. Even though we were only there for 2 weeks, we ended up spending about 900 kroner on tolls, which is about 80 pounds. Tolls will hit you, and they'll hit you hard. Especially
if you are in a basically a energy eco-friendly vehicle.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a Tesla car or something like that, you'll get tolled. Electric cars are not tolled in Norway because obviously they're trying to get people to go into more eco-friendly energy.
Yeah.
But if you are in a big vehicle like a van or and you're petrol or diesel, you are basically buggered.
By the way, side note, if you are in an electric vehicle in Norway, there are plenty of electric charging stations everywhere. Literally, there was some in the middle of nowhere with a town with 10,000 people. So you'll be fine as long as you have the time to charge it up. Now, we did the sensible thing. Before we even came to Norway or Sweden, we bought all of our food in the UK because we knew firsthand that it was going to be expensive regardless.
Video will be linked right here above me somewhere. I don't know which side.
This side.
That side, okay.
Obviously some things like bread, milk, butter, things that we couldn't exactly take with us, we did buy in Norway and Sweden as well. And yeah, it's a good thing that we did buy all the food beforehand, because we knew Norway was expensive, but it is really expensive, like at least double the price.
When you read online and they tell you it's like 3 times more expensive than the UK or something like that, and you don't think, well, it's 3 times more. Really? Nah, that's not possible.
No, we paid £4 something for milk.
Yeah.
In the UK it's like £1.50. No, £4 for 2 litres of milk.
So we bought like 1 or 2 packets of bread and maybe 3 cartons of milk, and that cost us
190 krona.
£18.
£18. That's
for the 2 weeks.
That's all we spent in food. Still a lot. The popular supermarket brands that we saw in Norway, there was somewhere called Rema 1000, there was a Co-op, Kiwi, and we did see a few 7-Elevens dotted around, but they're not as cheap as Thailand or elsewhere.
It's Norway. Maybe some things that are potentially cheaper. I don't remember what they were. Wasn't fish, wasn't chicken. Well, I don't know what was cheaper.
No, fish. Fish was cheaper.
Fish was cheaper?
Well, salmon was about the same price as it is in the UK.
Okay. So I guess fish is cheaper in comparison to everything else in Norway.
Yes, but there is a huge sugar tax in Norway. So sweets, cakes, biscuits, anything with a lot of sugar in, including fizzy drinks, anything like that is highly, highly taxed. It's like, there was even a point where we went into Sweden, like literally over the border, 15 minutes over the border, and in a tiny town of under 100 people.
Well, in Abisko, it was in Abisko.
In Abisko, in a town of under 100 people, there was a supermarket, and over half of it was just sweets, because it's in Sweden and they avoid the sugar tax.
And later on we found out that actually people from Norway drive to Abisko to stock up on sweets and take it back to Norway at home. It's like, okay, that works for me.
So even though we didn't buy this specifically in Norway because we rented the camper van from Sweden, camper van rentals and car rentals are available in Norway, but are more expensive than its neighbour Sweden. A car rental at minimum was about 400 kroner a day, and camper van rentals at minimum is like 800 Norwegian kroner, but it can easily go 1,000, 1,200 a day, which is like up to £100 a day for a camper van. Technically in Norway we spent 0 because we rented the camper van from Sweden, which will be next week's video. But yeah, technically we spent 0.
Parking in Norway, and actually pretty much all of the western central part of Europe, it is really, really expensive in cities.
It was like anywhere from 10 to 30, 40 Norwegian kroner per hour.
Yeah.
Like
so literally you might end up spending 20 quid or 40 quid for parking if you park there for 8 hours or something like that.
Now, the only trick that we found, because we didn't park that much in Norway in the central towns and cities, we either found free parking spaces that had like time limits on, or we park quite outside the cities, or there are plenty of places to park for free that are more rural, especially when you want to, go to sleep. A lot of the parking machines and such have this 4-digit number in a pink sign that's done by Easy Park. I think there are a few other apps that you can use in Norway as well, but Easy Park was definitely the most prominent that we saw around. You put in that code so it knows which car park you're in, and you can choose exactly how long you want to park for, down to the minute. And then basically you leave it running. If you figure out that you need more time, you can go where you are on your app and just extend the time, and when you come back to your car you can literally cancel or stop the timer so that you're only charged exactly to the minute for how long you were parked for. So in the 2 weeks that we were there, we spent about 160 Norwegian kroner, that's like 15 quid on parking, which if you think about it, it's not too bad. We did use a lot of effort to not pay for parking and walk a lot of places.
Yeah. Walking is highly beneficial exercise.
Indeed. But do you know somewhere where you cannot walk? Across water.
Oh, bother.
Yes. So
I've been listening to Pride and Prejudice, if any of you are wondering why I'm going so posh.
If you know anything about Norway, apart from it having beautiful scenery, is that it has lots and lots of water in the land, like fjords, rivers, deep lakes, valleys, really cool scenery, a pain to get across. Quite a lot of places in Norway, especially in that western bulge, you see the map of Norway and it's got that belly that comes out and sticks out into the North Sea, especially that place, there are lots of ferries. Now if your vehicle's under 7 meters long, which ours was,
by 1 centimeter,
then you get charged as a car rate. Usually they're about half an hour or less, and they're I don't know, anywhere from 150 to 400 kroner.
If your vehicle is over the 7 meter limit, it's gonna jump really quickly.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
Like lorries have to pay like sometimes £100 just to get across a 20-minute gap. We only had to go on one ferry because the road going from south to north, there's only one ferry that you have to catch. That was 179 kroner, or about, what was that, 16, 17 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the only ferry that we had to catch. And again, we did plan our route so that we don't have to take ferries going anywhere else. But if you're going in that western bulge, prepare to pay a lot in ferry.
You know, it may look like a solid ground, but look carefully at the map. There's so many little squiggly blue lines.
And if you try like, oh, I'll just drive around this fjord. No.
Well,
you're going to spend 300 kilometers driving around that fjord. So moving on from ferries, the next thing we come to is camping grounds. Now, due to us having a camper van, which doesn't make sense to park in a campground to pay a lot of money to stay overnight in somewhere where you could just park for free, but they were expensive if you did want to camp or you wanted to park your vehicle, anywhere from like 250 to 400 kroner per night. I'm not saying that these are bad campgrounds. Oh, they had warm showers in the middle of nowhere, toilets, some of them had spas. They were amazing, but they're expensive, so you kind of pay what you get. There's not like a £5 or £10 campground where you literally just pay and it's a field. But if you did want a cheap campground, we've done a video on it again, we'll link it up here, but there's something in Norway, Sweden, Finland and Iceland that is called Almansratten. Basically, every man's right to roam, I think it roughly translates to, and it basically allows you, if you follow their law and the rules, you're allowed to basically camp anywhere on public land.
Yeah, I think there's also a thing about you can also be on private land, but you have to be like a certain distance away from rivers, houses, and etc.
The only thing that I guess could have sort of counted as a campground in northern Norway, we were running into a bit of trouble, so we did have to pay 60 Norwegian kroner.
Well, £6.
To fill up with fresh water and empty our toilet.
Yeah, because as we shared with you quite extensively. We spent at least like 3 days and I think 2 videos yapping about how we can't find the toilet dump and there's no water taps, because as soon as we passed Narvik, we were obviously in the farther north and the taps there were closed. Like further south they were still open, probably for another couple of weeks, but farther north they shut and we didn't know that. So essentially when we got to Tromsø we were properly desperate. So yeah, we did actually go to a campsite, and thankfully they allowed us to pay just for those facilities and not pay 40 quid to basically use water and toilet dump. Obviously in our camper we did have a shower and the water tanks were just sufficient enough to basically for us to have a normal-ish shower in the van, as long as we managed to top up with water. But as I said, that was a bit tricky when we go farther north. But if it wasn't winter, the taps were maybe about an hour to 2 hours apart, so perfectly fine for you to get to if they're open. Once the water sort of dried up, we had to start looking at basically where to have a bit more of a shower.
We only found one petrol station sort of area that did have a free shower that seemingly like the truckers used in the mornings. So we did plan our route around that. I think we stopped at least twice.
Yeah, so literally on the way up we stopped once, and on the way down we're like, we're stopping by that shower again.
Because it was free and nice hot water.
It was very well maintained as well.
Also, if you did want a shower, like campgrounds obviously have showers, but usually you have to pay for a full night stay at a campground to use those facilities. You can, use swimming pools, public swimming pools and such. Again, you'll probably have to pay a full fare, which is like 100 to 120 Norwegian kroner, like £10.
So in total, we actually spent about £415 in Norway, minus anything to do with the rental of the vehicle.
Yeah, 4,500 Norwegian kroner, give or take.
So that was how much Vanlife cost us this time on our trip in Norway. We will be going back with our own van, so we can actually give you a much better, do-it-yourself sort of tour of Norway, how much it will actually cost us with a van, but that will be maybe later on or after the van is built.
And have a good
and also
idea.
next time we go, we would like to be better informed, so your experience is invaluable in this scenario. So
Indeed.
yeah, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
I guess, yeah, hopefully. Please subscribe and don't fall off this tire. Yeah, subscribe, comment, we'll see you next time.